What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be talking about meth stories. Now, this one takes place a very long time ago in 2011, and I was introduced to a lot of different people while I was using meth. That was not my DOC. My DOC primarily for my entire life was heroin, and then my addiction progressed and I found myself in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I got heavily addicted to meth. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Before we get into today's video, for those new to my channel, I'm a recovering addict with 8 years of sobriety, and I am so proud of that. I never thought that I could live a happy and successful life outside of addiction. So if you are still struggling with addiction, please know that sobriety is not only possible, but you can thrive outside of that world. It's scary at first, but slowly, as you start to get comfortable in your own skin, you realize how amazing sobriety is. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So back in 2011, when I was in Arkansas, I met a lot of different people, and I tried to be kind of trusting of the people that I met. I started selling meth as a way to pay for my own meth addiction, and things were crazy. Every day was different. Every day was crazy. There were different things that I would do that other people would do, and I was constantly put in these very out of the ordinary situations. I would stay up for days and days and days. I was forgetting to go to the bathroom, and I know that sounds completely insane, but if you're not drinking liquids, like I was not, you're not eating food, then your body is not going to need to go to the bathroom, right? Well, I got so sick at one point that I was like 95 pounds, which is very skinny for me. I'm naturally 120, 125. So that was very bad. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't going to the bathroom. And it got so bad that I actually had to set timers on my phone just to remember to drink water or Gatorade or something and go to the bathroom. That is how sick I was. I had track marks all the way from the top of my arm to my hands. I have since tattooed over most of them, but it was really, really bad. So over the course of 7 months or so, I met a lot of different people, and I have a lot of stories because, like I said, every day I was meeting different people, every day I was in different situations. So this particular person that I'm going to be talking about was a very long time meth user. He was probably somewhere in the range of 40 years old, and had been using meth his entire life, in and out of prison, on parole, currently using. Now, I know that seems crazy, but in Arkansas, there wasn't a lot of oversight with parolees. As long as you weren't breaking the law or stopped by law enforcement, they didn't really care that much. And I know there are some parole officers in Arkansas that they absolutely care and they're checking up on their parolees, but in my experience, I never once saw a parole officer at any house I was ever in, and everyone was on parole. I personally, when I got out of prison in Arkansas, never, ever one time saw a parole officer at my house. They never checked up on me, they never called. As long as I paid my parole fees, no one said anything to me. They drug tested me when I first came out of prison, but then after that, it just kind of faded away. So this person that we're gonna be talking about, he was very, very masculine, but had kind of a feminine name. We'll call him Terry, like Hulk Hogan. So we will call him Terry just for the sake of this video, which I love boy names for girls and girl names for boys. I don't know, that's just me personally. So we'll call this person Terry. Now, when I first met Terry, he was living in this house that had a giant hole in his floor, like in the kitchen. So you would walk in and it was just the weirdest thing. So you'd walk in and there'd be this giant hole, you'd have to walk around, and there was this kitchen right here, and you'd have to walk around this hole, and there was a bedroom, and then a bathroom, and then like another little sitting area. But you had to be very mindful of this crater in his floor. And you know, periodically he'd put like boards over it or whatever, but I just kind of knew to walk around this, and this was normal. This was completely normal, right? So as soon as I met Terry and I saw this hole in his floor, it was just very, very weird, but he seemed so cool. He would periodically tattoo, and I just liked his personality. He seemed very, very nice. But it was apparent that Him and his girlfriend were heavy meth users. So the reason why I was introduced to him is because he bought from me and other people. Sometimes I would buy from him. That's kind of just how it goes. If you're out, but he has, then it was kind of an interchangeable thing. But I liked to go over there because he was just really cool to hang out with. But sometimes it would turn, and that's kind of where the story is going. So right out of the gate, he and I got along really well. And there were a couple situations where I was able to de-escalate his anger. Now, he would stay up for days and get very, very paranoid. He'd get very, very mad at whoever was there. He would kick them out. He would yell. He would throw things. He would punch holes in the wall. He had a lot of issues, a lot of anger issues. But when he wasn't like that, he was so much fun to be around. And I really think it's the psychosis of meth. So he would stay up for days, and then on day like 5 or 6, it would turn and things would get kind of violent. But kind of out the gate, other people started to realize that I was kind of good at calming him down. You know, I would make little jokes with him. I wouldn't threaten him. So we'll get into that. So one day I'm hanging out at someone's house and they call me and they say, hey, Terry is freaking on one. He is acting crazy. The cops are gonna come. You have got to get over here. And I was like, man, like what the hell? So I have a friend of mine drop me off down the street from his house. I don't want him to see me get out of the car with other people with me. That was a big deal. You know, you couldn't bring people over to his house that he didn't know. And even sometimes if he knew that person and he would forget that person, you were in trouble for bringing that person over. So it was very difficult to maneuver around how he was going to be feeling that day. And I sympathized with that because I too had major anger issues. I too would break from reality and I wasn't okay. And I saw a lot of pain in him where other people were like, God, this guy's an asshole. I was like, this guy is hurting, you know? And I related to him a lot and I saw the pain that he was going through, you know? And I think that's probably why we connected the way that we did. And I was just very good at kind of de-escalating situations. Well, this was kind of the last time that I had seen him. So I had my friends drop me off kind of down the street and I walked up to his house so that just in case he was outside, which he was, he wouldn't see me getting dropped off with other people. So I walked up. As I am walking up, I can see how mad he is. He was fighting with his girlfriend. And as I walked up to the house, she ran across the street and he threw a tire iron across the street and almost hit her. Now, everyone else, every time he acts like that, everyone's like, oh my God, Terry, you're gonna go back to prison. The cops are gonna come. Prison, cops, prison, cops. And they throw that at him, trying to calm him down. But that always just made him even more mad. So when I walk up to the house and I see him throw that tire iron across the freaking street and almost hit her, I was like, okay, he didn't hit her. Thank God he didn't hit her. The first thing I said to him was, that was close, huh? And he kind of looked over at me and he was like, he smiled the tiniest bit. And if you didn't know him, you would not have recognized that tiny, 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 almost not even there smirk. But he's like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know, I just thought I'd come over and say hi. Got anything else to throw? And I made these little like jokes with him. Because the last thing on earth that you should have said to that kind of person was, the cops are gonna come. Because then he's like, fuck you, you're gonna call the cops. And then he acts even more crazy, right? And I know that he was staying up for days and days and days. And I was like, you got a wrench right there, you know? Maybe wanna throw a wrench? Come on, I'll help you. You know, and he's like, I don't wanna hit her. I'm like, no, I know you don't wanna hit her. I know that. And he started to kind of breathe a little bit. I was like, so let's go smoke a bowl. Let's go inside. It's fucking hot as hell out here, man. This Arkansas sun is crazy. He was pouring in sweat, had no shirt on. You know, I could tell that he was really hot and I'm like, let's just go inside. The way that I was able to, you know, calm him down and interact with him is to act like this wasn't a big thing. You know what I mean? To act like throwing a tire iron at your girlfriend isn't a big deal, when of course it is. But when people would kind of yell at him like that and tell him like, this is bad, you're gonna hurt her, blah, 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 it would just make him even more mad. So I was pretty good at just kind of sliding in there with like, boy, you got anything else to throw? What you got here? You got a wrench, got a screwdriver? Cool, let's do this. You know, and I would make it to where he would not want to do that anymore. And I would do it through slight humor. And I'd try to redirect him, you know? So we went inside, we smoked, and he was laughing within about 20 minutes, you know, and she eventually came back in and it was almost like he completely forgot that incident. And I looked over at her and I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm okay. So she was okay, he was okay, and after a little while, I left, you know? And that was just another situation where if you stay up for days, you started to get really paranoid. Now, randomly, he would think that his girlfriend was an informant for the cops. She was a snitch. She was gonna call the cops. If she was on her phone for too long, he would think that she's calling the cops, you know, and it was a very, very tough situation that they were both in. They were both really bad addicts. In spending time with them, it almost reminded me of me and my ex. You know, I could see how crazy it would seem to the rest of the world. I could see how violent it could become. I could see how dangerous it is, you know, and when you're on that kind of a substance, all of this seems normal. That's just a regular Tuesday, you know, it's just another afternoon. And the reality of it is those kind of substances make you a completely different person, and they are dark and they are so addictive, and it is very difficult to pull yourself out of that world. If I hadn't have gone to jail, and I hadn't have had the separation between that life and that substance and those people, who even knows what would have happened to me? I can guarantee you that I wouldn't be on YouTube talking about it. I can guarantee you that I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And it all came from having my daughter in prison. If that experience and that trauma hadn't have happened to me, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I loved my addiction. I defended my addiction. I made sure everyone else around me was okay. I was so enthralled with that world that not only did I not see a way out, I didn't want a way out. I didn't want to leave that world and my people and my friends and the life that I was in. I had moments of very dark desperation of wanting to leave. I didn't know how. I didn't have those tools in my toolbox to be able to pull myself out of my own addiction. So I hope this story gives you guys a little bit of insight on what meth culture is like, how dangerous it can become, and how after just a few days, your mind just really starts to play tricks on you with a combination of sleep deprivation, dehydration, and the chemicals that you're putting into your body. Your mind and your body don't know how to handle it, and bad things start to happen, and you do things that you wouldn't normally do. I'm gonna end today's video here. I really hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I hope you learned something from it. I hope that if you know someone struggling with addiction and you've gone through all of this, then you feel less alone. Every 9 minutes, someone dies of an overdose. Addiction is a crisis in our country. If you are still in active addiction, please find the strength to pull yourself out of that world. It does not make you weak asking for help. It makes you strong. As always, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober. Please reach out for help if you need it. And I will see you in my next one.